Cut the top off so you can scoop out the insides. It takes a sharp knife. I'm glad that Corey's father is helping her. It's much safer that way.
Eager to get inside?
Getting my inside scooped out tickles me.
Now comes the fun part.
Look at Corey's hand. Kinda gooey, isn't it? Corey is going to carve the face with a small knife.
Hello, I'm the Bunnyman.
And I'm Crazzy Suzzy.
And we are in the Eyes of Terror. And it's almost time, kids. It's almost Halloween. And tonight's movie is Checo from 1995. It's a 1 hour and 29 minute and 12 second video.
In 12 seconds.
Gotta catch that 12 seconds. The 12 seconds is murder. Actually, that 1 hour and 29 minute just drags on.
It does.
Anything you want to say about it?
This film is not appropriate for children.
It also can be found on Amazon Prime.
Yes. Yeah, it's not okay for kids. Definitely recommend you to watch it first before you allow your children to watch it. It contains sexual content, nudity, violence, gore, profanity, frightening contents, intense scenes, alcohol, drugs, and smoking.
Yes. Don't want to have impressionable children picking up them cancer sticks.
So, yes, this is not for the kiddies. It is listed as a horror film. It is rated R, and IMDb gives it a massive 3.3 out of 10.
I recommend watching this film in a group of people that don't take film seriously and possibly using a bit of alcohol yourself while watching this.
I'm sure it helps. I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't watch this sober expecting great things. Let's just put it that way.
I wouldn't watch many of the films that we rate expecting great things.
No.
If you do, then you'll be sorely disappointed. The director of this film is Steve Latshaw. The writers are Patrick Moran and Olen Ray.
Yep.
The cast are Linnea Quigley. She plays Carolyn Miller. Maddisen K. Krown plays Linda Kelly. Gary Doles plays David Kelly.
Oh, Doyle's rule.
Yeah, I can't hear that without thinking. I watched too many Jim Carrey movies.
Jim Carrey.
Adam Sandler. I don't know why I thought that. Anyway. Ryan Latshaw plays Sean Kelly and Andrew Kelly. Catherine Walsh plays Vivian Machen. I don't know. Rachel Carter plays Julie Miller. Tom Ferda plays Jim. I'm from the South.
These names are weird. Just put it that way.
Bill Koss plays Richard Watson. Helen Keeling plays Amanda Watson. Thor Schweigenrath plays Robbie. Interesting. The full list is at imdb.com if you would like to view it in its entirety.
And this film can be viewed on Amazon Prime. You want to do what are we drinking?
Sure.
What are you drinking?
I am having pineapple juice with some coconut flavoring added.
Nice. And I am trying Blue Moon's Harvest Pumpkin Wheat, which is a brewer's select. It's brewed with real pumpkin and spices. It's made by Blue Moon Brewing Company from Golden, Colorado. I mean, this is a natural distributor, so Harvest Pumpkin Wheat.
Blue Moon makes my tummy hurt thinking about it. Wheat.
It's not bad. You really taste the pumpkin in this.
It's got pumpkin in it.
Yeah, but I think the wheat helps elevate it. For a holiday, I'll give it a 4 out of 5. Because I really look for that pumpkin flavor. Not the pumpkin spice flavor, but...
Did you know that a lot of canned pumpkin isn't actually pumpkin?
Then what is it?
It's a gourd. It's just not pumpkin.
Human flesh?
It's squoosh.
Squash?
It's a squoosh.
It's a squish squash.
Yep, just not pumpkin.
It's actually a long pig. Canned long pig with pumpkin spices. Or a blonde.
Makes all sense.
Mm-hmm.
The synopsis of this film is: a long time ago, a wizard was put to death, but he swore vengeance on the townfolk that did him in, particularly Arthur Kelly's family.
Because...
I'm gonna get you, Kellys!
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Skeletor. Yeah.
Get off my lawn, Kellys! I'm gonna get you.
Yeah.
They're just like, I'll get him. They got your treats, Luna. Go get him.
Yeah. Want to get into the movie?
So Luna's having doggy jerkies, so she's being good right now. So this movie begins very interesting. Well, creepily interesting. It begins with a very portly man sitting by the fire with a boy, and you're not really told their relationship.
He could have been a kidnapper, his uncle, guy who said he was his uncle, a kidnapper that told the kid he was his uncle.
So the boy is sitting across the fire from the man, and the man proceeds to tell the boy. You find out the boy's name is Sean. So he tells him the story about Jacko. He does this while he is aggressively carving a pumpkin.
I wouldn't say aggressively. I would say violently, like, I'm going to stab and cut this eye out with this big old hunter knife. There we go. Right angle, 90 degrees.
So he tells him, this is the story behind the old nursery rhyme. Nursery rhyme, you know, the cute little songs that you sing to your infant child as you rock them to sleep. Nursery rhyme. Mr. Jack will break your back, cut off your head with a whack, whack, whack.
I loved it when my mother used to sing that to me. Put me right to sleep.
The pumpkin man will steal your soul. Snap it up and swallow it whole. And just as quick before you die, the pumpkin man will carve out your eyes.
It's a lovely song. It just warms the cockles of my heart. The cockles of my heart.
Your heart has cockles?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm actually singing it upbeat. He didn't sing it like that, but you know, I figured if it's nursery rhyme, it should sound upbeat. You know, even though it's sad, the words aren't upbeat, obviously. I mean, he's ripping your eyeballs out. He's killing you with a whack, whack, whack. But, you know, or cutting your head off. Cutting your head off. And that's not enough. He's going to carve out your eyes.
You do other things with his eye sockets.
It's a children's nursery rhyme.
I'm surprised he just stopped there.
As he kept explaining that many years ago, on a night just like this, a woman appears in the shadows.
Just randomly, homelessly, a homeless-looking witch just randomly appears out of nowhere.
The men of Oakmore Crossing caught a murderer. The killer was a wicked old wizard. Before he was hung, he put a curse on the town. He told them a monster would come for them, Jacko. And that Halloween, Jacko came back. Now, how could he come back if he never came previously? I don't really understand the wording there. But anyway.
He's going to come back the first time.
And then it kind of flashes back and you see a farmer is getting ready
at no point is
to fight the monster.
And at no point is this film good. Like, this whole flashback is just awkward at best.
Yeah, just, you know it's a flashback because it's in a much older time period. It doesn't really...
It's trying to portray a much older time period. Let's just put it that way.
Right. It was on this old farm right here where we're sitting.
Right here.
Dun dun dun. But before he left, he said goodbye to his son. Sean begins to look around as if he is expecting something to jump out at him.
Other than robed homeless women and a creepy fat guy with a hunting knife, you know. This is normal!
A little boy with the same last name as yours, Sean. A boy named Kelly.
Don't die, Daddy!
We go back to the flashback. Arthur is preparing to go and fight the monster. He tells Eunice...
Well, that's what her name was?
Eunice. To get their boy out of here. She begs him not to go, as she can't raise their boy alone. The son asks the dad if he could go, or if he's gonna die, sorry. Dad replies, not if he can help it.
But he couldn't help it.
Not this time. The Bible says...
Yeah, she tries to fight him with a Bible verse.
Yeah.
And he's like, ooh, that's efficient.
Eunice hits him back with Bible verses. The Bible says, know thine enemy. The wife says, she is aware, for she has lost her sisters to the evil.
Not just one, but two.
He had hung the monster to just let the evil rest. The father says, the evil was sent from hell. It killed the Bartlows last night, and he can't let it get away with that. She says, but vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And the husband's rebuttal is,
It doesn't look like the Lord's here.
Take his vengeance tonight. Before his daddy died, Ezra was going to protect people from evil. But if she was wrong, the son was worried. This kid had a lot of on him for a little kid. The father gave his son a heart-to-heart. He tells his son to take care of his mama, always love and protect her, and listen to her.
And don't go off into the woods with strangers who are carving pumpkins with butcher knives.
Yeah. He asked if he can go with him, and he says no, but you can say a prayer for me tonight. And for some reason now, Sean is in his bed to sleep, which, you know, maybe this whole... Sean wakes up from his sleep startled. There's a bad storm outside.
Oh, yeah.
He looks outside of his window and sees a figure approaching.
It's the Pumpkin Man.
And he wakes again from a dream, as if waking with purpose. And then we go into the intro.
Second set of credits.
Yeah.
This movie is so good that they need 2 sets of credits.
They need to introduce the movie twice.
Yeah.
It's like they just couldn't decide what they were going to keep and what they weren't going to keep. So they just kept it all.
And honestly, like, this set of credits felt like it took forever.
Yeah.
Then we see Sean and 2 others walking and talking about a guy that died. One of the kid points out a jack-o'-lantern and says that must be the head of the Pumpkin Man.
Yeah, the boy is Robbie, and the girl... They're walking to school.
Yeah, the girl's never mentioned.
Her name is mentioned very briefly. Hold on, I wrote it down somewhere.
I didn't catch it. We see her once, so I'm like me.
No, she's seen it later on.
Okay, anyway, so random friend.
He's walking with a guy and a girl. The boy's name is Robbie. He's kind of a punkish type bully kid. And the little girl is she's pretty nice.
Well, anyway, so Robbie points out the head, and he says that must be the head of the Pumpkin Man. And the kid sings the rhyme, Mr. Jack will snap your spine, cut you in half with a scaly vine.
Evidently, there's a lot of nursery rhymes going around about Jack.
Yep. Sean says this is no Pumpkin Man. Yeah, Sean says there is no Pumpkin Man. Like the whole, that whole prelude story never happened.
It was just a dream.
I know I dream about fat, sweaty men violently carving pumpkins with knives.
Just a dream.
And then they ask if he saw the witch that was roaming around. Then Robbie points at a car and says, "That's the witch." And who knew that she was driving a 1993 POS?
It's like a Honda or something.
Yeah. You have a Ford. The 90s were really weird with cars. They all sort of looked the same.
Yeah, cars back then were all boxy,
Yeah.
squared. Cars now are like, want to be boxy, but they're rounded.
They're just weird. They all look the same. Even like Mustangs look the same. And anyway. And then the woman parks and starts to look bored as the bully kid, Robbie, poorly throws rocks at her car because
He tries to get them to hide.
okay, they hid poorly beside the
I said he
bushes.
tries to get them to hide.
You might not well have hit at all. Poorly throws. I mean, he just like chucks it and just falls short.
It's like,
There's like no strength to it. It was like, eh.
yeah,
And these are not like big rocks. These are just like little
pebbles.
At her car, because that's what you do with witches in the olden days. Because he should know. Sean tells him to stop, and then Robbie starts to beat up on Sean.
Pushes him to the ground.
And then he starts punching him weakly till the quote-unquote witch stops Robbie and then Robbie and the other friend to run off. We find out she is Vivian, and Sean tells her his full name and social security, favorite color.
No, she asks if he is Sean Kelly. She asks if he's Sean Kelly.
Then he gave him her social security, where he lives at, his favorite color, the first city that he was born in, his favorite pet, and the his password for his email. So
She asks if she can give him a ride home. He says his dad will not allow him to take rides from strangers. So they walk together to his house. Totally weird.
yeah, like together, just like, oh, whatever. She knew my name. That's not creepy.
Again, this is also, the 80s, so
90s.
early 90s, and
Yeah.
possibly the 80s.
Uh,
So they get to his house. His dad's outside, and his dad says nothing about this strange woman walking him home.
well, at least my kid didn't end up on the back of a milk carton.
But instead freaks out about his clothes being dirty or
Slightly.
astray or whatever. What happened to your clothes? He's freaked out about his clothes. So he sends Sean into the house to get cleaned up and tells him not to mention the fight to his mom, as she would overreact.
And then Vivian tells Dad that he stopped Robbie from vandalizing her car. I don't know if poorly throwing rocks at a car is much vandalism. I mean, you shouldn't do it, but...
The helpful stranger, Vivian, offers to help with the spook house that Sean's dad was working on.
No, spook garage.
They call it the spook house.
No, I actually on the sign it said spooky garage or like spook garage or...
He says he can use the help, but would hate to impose.
No, I just walked your kid home for no good reason.
He knew how to get home. That was like 2 blocks down the road.
I know, but it's like, but I took him home. She's like, whatever. As Sean enters the house, he sees his dad has worked on creating a creepy backyard. And then we're back, and Vivian tells Dad she is working on a book about her great-grandfather. Then a car pulls into the driveway. The dad introduces Vivian to what we find out as the mother, who is doing a history of Oakmore and wants to know more about the Kelly family and help them with the spook house. And this whole interaction at this whole point is like Oh, yeah, like your old friend. Yeah, Vivian. I remember Vivian. You guys went to school together, right? Yeah, no. Nah. There was no weirdness at all. And what does Mom do? Come on over for dinner.
She says, Mom says, well, you'll have to stay for dinner. We can't afford to pay you, so we'll have to feed you. We'll have to feed you. We have to. And Mom, the character that plays Mom, is one of those people that unfortunately feels like they're staring a hole through you when they talk to you because she's got them bulging eyes.
Yeah.
And it's like, could you shut your eyes when you're talking to me? Because you feel like she's just staring a hole through you.
Then we are back with Sean, who comes across a robed old man that tells him, there is no use in resisting me. Ah! My world is stronger than yours, Sean. Ah! Sean runs away. Vivian enters the door, the house, like it's her own. Sean finds the old Kelly farm in the dark, foggy closet, sees the dad and the barn. After walking around the barn, he just randomly finds two people in front of him. Like, the dad's like, I'm just going to do this, and then I'm going to turn around, and then bam! What's up with two people dead here? Who put these two random people at my feet? Then we see that these two bloody people ask for Sean's help. Then Vivian is behind Sean asking what happened. Sean tells her bad dream and tells him his favorite show is on. At this point, it seems the whole Vivian stuff is really weird because they act like, oh yeah, we've known her for ages. Then the mother asks if he is okay. Vivian tells her Sean had a bad dream, then decides she needs to leave till tomorrow. Get out of my house till tomorrow!
It was just a bad dream. He's fine now, right, Sean? Like, she's talking for him and everything.
Yeah. Don't worry, we're gonna have your favorite tuna casserole.
Is that anybody's favorite? Why?
Don't worry, if you don't come tomorrow, we'll have her for 3 days straight.
You can take leftovers home.
You can take the whole bloody casserole with you. Later that night, 3 teens drive on a road to crack open some cold ones and go look for the old Oakmore Cemetery. Brett tells them this used to be the Kelly farm because everybody knows where the Kelly farm is. They are going to find the old graveyard. And then they have some this group of 3 friends have some back and forth about dead bodies in the suburbs and moving them to make room for a house. A joke about moving the girl's body, and she throws an open beer can at one of the other friends, which he chases, and he finally finds some. He found something as he slides down this embankment after this beer. I've never been so thirsty for beer that I would go chase one. Something old and dead, and then they hear yelling. They come running. The 2 other friends hear some yelling. They come running to fall for a prank. And we find out that one gravestone says Daniel Kelly, 1915, and then then they find 2 more stones. Back at Sean's house, he's in front of the television watching a horror host show, Asylum of Horrors. Dun dun dun. As the movie starts, Dad turns on the TV because Dad's a douche. It shows Sean the eyeballs, quote unquote, that he's doing for the spook house, which are just peeled grapes. The mom arrives with the other ingredients for the haunted garage of doom. And then they have some back and forth about babysitters and giving the proceeds to the haunted garage to some for some cause.
For the homeless.
Yeah.
Homeless shelter.
Yeah, instead of keeping it. Back at the Kelly farm, the girl of the crew finds a wooden cross and beckons the others to come. They want to pull out the cross. One of them has like respect for the dead, and they didn't. But one of them finds an old scythe and pulls it out from the overgrowth. So, because that scythe has just been sitting there for ages, and no one's hit themselves on it. But everybody's been to the Kelly farm to crack open old gold ones.
Gold ones. Old ones.
Old ones, yeah. Then we get 3 minutes of watching a woman standing under a shower, rubbing her hands over her body at the camera.
Titties.
Yeah, I'm getting there. It has some really awkward close-ups too. Some under boob, some armpit shots, some crevice of the buttock shots. As she is just not even like sensually doing it. It's just like, and this is what I get paid for. Yep. They told me to do this for 10 minutes.
I'm not sure they cut out any of that because she was doing it for quite some time.
Do you find me sexy yet? I give it a titty rating of 3 out of 5. Yeah, they're full, but the scene is unsexy and just pure awkward. So, what's your titty rating?
I didn't give it one. I just wanted to.
So, what was your, yeah. It was just, the unsex appeal to this whole,
I was like, is this supposed to be a soap commercial? What is this supposed to be?
No. It would be different if there was some lathering. But it was just literally like, do you find me sexy yet, Mr. Producer?
I think even Luna was embarrassed. She was like, what is going on?
Yeah. Then Jim and girlfriend go for a ride. And then we get another 5 minutes of shower time. Am I still sexy, Mr. Producer? Then Mom calls the shower house. Shower girl Carolyn, Carradine, whatever.
Carolyn
runs to get the phone and tells her she can't babysit, but will show up with Julie, who just left with her boyfriend on the motorcycle. We find out that they're sisters, and then we also find that Caroline, what's her name? Carolyn has a Halloween party that she absolutely and must totally has to go to. She's going to go as a shower girl, I hear.
Makes sense.
Yep. And then, so my really big question is you expect a woman just to drop everything, somebody to drop everything a night before Halloween.
She had already agreed to do it initially, and she was just calling to confirm.
Oh, okay.
That she was still going to do it.
Because I thought it was like, I didn't catch that part. I thought she was like, could you do this a night before Halloween? And she's not having plans.
No. What I find to be really hilarious is it's supposed to be believable that Julie is a college student.
Yeah.
Mm. I mean, anybody of any age can be a college student. It's more prevalent now that older individuals can be college students, but back then it really wasn't a normal, everyday thing.
Yeah.
Julie looks like she's in her mid-30s, and her sister Carolyn looks like she's edging 40. So...
Definitely, and then Jim looks like he's edging on 50.
Jim's probably in his 40s.
So, anyway...
but these people are supposed to be,
the cool, edgy teens. Yeah.
Maybe in their 20s or supposed to be, just graduated high school.
Man, high school was so hard. It was so hard that I didn't graduate till I was 25.
Because back then, that's when you typically went to college. You would typically go right out of high school. You may have taken a year off and then went, but that was the typical thing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's still typical now. I mean, it's just some of us go to school at a later date.
I'm not saying that's not typical now, but it was way more typical then that was pretty much everybody's situation.
Yeah. Then we see a guy sitting in front of a television, watching something political, and the wife complains about stuff. And then Vivian goes to the old Kelly farm to see the teens' truck. Sean gets tucked in and asks his dad about Mr. Jack. The dad re-says the rhyme, and he said it was an old rhyme his grandmother would tell him to keep him out of trouble. Back with the teens, the guy that was hitting on the girl, Paul, challenges her to catch him. Then he goes and runs off. They go run off after each other, and they all look like they're in their 30s too. So that's sort of hard to, see them as teenagers. And Paul pulls out the wooden cross because he was trying to fend her off with it, like in a Dracula film. Then the other guy shows up with the scythe. Then a storm rolls in. Sean dreams of Mr. Jack and Arthur Kelly killing the monster. Then he sees the old road man with mom and dad on their knees in front of him. And the old man says, "Open your mouth, and here it comes in the airplane."
I am the judge of the hill. Not everyone is lucky enough to get my special attention. At the cemetery, Paul, Shannon, and Brett, the three are laughing off the joke. They sit down and have a beer, not realizing the grave they disturbed is opening up, and Jacko is crawling out of it. As he gets to the surface, the cross burst into flames.
The old man continues, "I have found you guilty and punishment of death."
I have found you guilty and the punishment is death. You missed something. Vivian is walking through the woods. Sean is still dreaming, and the wizard says, "I have found you guilty and the punishment is death."
Then the parents reach out for Sean and ask for help, and Sean cannot get to them because force field.
Boom, boom, boom. He can't penetrate it. The wizard just sits there and watches. He says, "You must do as I've commanded. Kill them. Kill them." You see Jacko walking in the woods with, is it a sling blade?
It's a scythe.
I thought a scythe was short and a sling
No.
blade was long.
No.
Do I have it backwards?
Yeah.
My bad. Shannon asked what that noise was, and Paul says Brett burped. Jacko is at the wood line, watching them. Shannon is annoyed, so she gets up and storms off. They ask if they can go now.
So the difference between a scythe and a sling blade, in my opinion, is one's for cutting off the feet, or wheat, where you're supposed to cut low, where a sling blade is short to cut off heads, or like corn heads or something like that. Like the stocky type stuff compared to like wheat and grass. So you have to have a reach with a scythe.
Jacko makes his appearance. He first slashes Paul, then Brett. So the first kill is Paul.
Gets his throat and beer container slashed. 2 out of 5.
And then Brett.
Gets his face clawed. 2 out of 5.
Shannon screams with her friend's blood on her face. Then she runs. Vivian hears the screams and starts walking toward them. Not running, fast walking.
She's a mole walker.
Shannon falls and gets caught up in a swampy water, then walks right into Jacko. So she falls to her knees, waiting to die.
Fall, screams, found a pond.
Number 3, Shannon.
Slashes her throat, also lightly.
He lifts the blade and brings it down on her neck.
To just go slice. It was a very light slice, but she bled out to death.
Yep. Her blood spurts everywhere. Sean yells out, then wakes up. He walks to the window and looks out. He sees a flash of the pumpkin face.
Flash! Ah! The savior of the universe.
Vivian finds the two boys. She opens her locket to view a photo of her grandfather, who is the old wizard, and she hears his words. I'm sorry you find my justice so difficult to accept. My power is much greater than even I believed.
Who would have known?
She grabs a shovel from her trunk, and
Because
you can assume she buries the bodies.
we all carry shovels in the back of our trunks.
Well, if you have evil wizard grandfathers, it's a good thing to carry.
Yeah. I'm always picking up. I'm always cleaning up after you, great-great-grandfather. Shovel, shovel, snick, snick.
Carolyn, Julie, and Jim come over to the Kelly's house to get acquainted before the big event. Carolyn compliments Dad on the yard and how scary it looks, and tells him he is like a little boy
And she
when it
likes.
comes to the scary stuff, huh? Then she says she likes little boys. That's not creepy at all.
Run, Sean, run!
All he can think to say is, yeah, it keeps me young, I guess. Then he likes her friend's bike. I guess Carolyn and Julie leave and come back later.
So, I mean, there was a running gag of the trick-or-treaters in there. The two trick-or-treaters. And we get... Sean goes for a bike ride with Jim and Mom freaks the heck out. Then Vivian shows up to the house and she brings an old family Bible. On the front page is a picture of an old man. And Sean asks, who is he? Dad says, some creepy old guy. Then Vivian says he is Walter Machen. And Dad just eats those words he just said. That night, Sean is in his costume watching The Asylum of Horrors. Dad asks Vivian about Walter because they weren't allowed to ask. We find out Walter Machen was accused of sorcery linked to the disappearance of many innocent townsfolk 81 years ago on this night. Arthur and Daniel Kelly led the mob that lynched Walter, and before he was hung, Walter vowed revenge. That he said that the streets of Oakmore Crossing would run red with the blood of the Kelly clan or anyone connected with them in 1 year's time. According to legend, the prophecy almost came true Halloween night, 1915. Something came out of the ground and took Machen's bloody revenge, but Arthur Kelly stopped the evil thing at the cost of his own life. She is trying to separate fact and fiction. Then the show plays. We find out Vivian creeps out Mom, and then Vivian asks for help. Mom says you get out of the water chestnuts into the tuna casserole. Then we see two kids trick-or-treating. The political watcher, Mr. Watson, very unpleasant couple, bicker about the children or little parasites as they see them. Then as they knock on the door and trick or treat, then he lectures them about needing to buy their own candy since he runs a grocery store, and therefore his parents they shouldn't ask him for handouts because instead their parents should buy his candy. That's his whole thing. Still leaving the porch light on. Pro tip, if you don't want trick-or-treaters, turn off your porch light. And don't be a jerk because you're unhappy or feel superior to everybody else. Then the kids rightfully TP his home, although they did it wrong because he just like chucked it over the roof instead of like the trees. That was as Mr. Watson comes storming out. Mr. Pumpkin is there waiting. He tells him to get off his lawn. Get off my lawn! Dad starts the lame haunted garage, and he sees Mr. Jack. Then some trick-or-treaters. Vivian and Sean are old chummy. Dad gets excited about the trick-or-treaters and to go out. It's the babysitters and the door. He tries to go out to go find out that the door handle is sticky. Go figure. There's got to be something. Dad asks the sitters to take Sean trick-or-treating, and Julie says this is so white bread because screw authority, man, and we're going to twist the system, and yeah. Back at the Watsons, teen screw with his tires, mostly the cap, the wheel cap, the rims. They pull it off and play frisbee with it. It hits a tree, alerting Mr. Watson. We find out that Mr. and Mrs. Watson like really obnoxious political shows while eating the crummiest of TV dinners while dressing up like they're something important. And then we find out that Mr. Watson doesn't like cable TV, so they could pry the cold TV antenna out of his dead hands, which in 5 minutes that will be him. Then he hears the hubcap clanking on the tree. Then Mr. Jack shows up. Kill number 4. Guts Mr. Watson as Miss Watson slices up really buttery toast in strips. I didn't understand who cuts up toast in strips, and I give that a 4 out of 5. Or no, I give that one a 3 out of 5. Sorry. Miss Watson, after calling for her husband, goes out to see what is going on with her husband. She sees his dead body and Mr. Jack. She rushes into the house to grab the most deadly of knives, the butter knife. She slips on the rug and plunges the knife into the toaster. I give this a 5 out of 5. She gets electrocuted by the toaster, and this white bread turns crispy to a nice skeleton.
She'll never need hairspray ever again.
No, you won't.
That big box of Aquanet, she can sell on eBay.
Sean is getting
well, in the afterlife, she can sell it in the afterlife.
Sean is getting impatient and wants to go, and Carolyn sees Julie hightailing out with Jim. Her sister finds out, gets pissed, then takes Sean out. They come up to the first house, and the guy is very enthusiastic. Jim and Julie decide to go to the woods to have some fun, and we get another titty rating, and they're a 4 out of 5. Although on the small side, still looks good. Julie sees something in the woods, gets freaked out, and restuffs those sweater puppies back in the sweater. Jim gets pissed and tells her to find another ride, and the two trick-or-treaters from the Watson's place go to the haunted garage, are unimpressed till the boy puts his hand into one of the feel holes, because the whole point is to feel stuff like eyes, heart, kidney, intestine. And the Pumpkin Man grabs his hand, and they run off screaming. Dad goes and checks out to make sure that they didn't wreck anything, finds no damage, then sees some of his some of the curtain was slashed by Dad, and then Dad tipped over a shelf of paint. We see Jacko is inside tearing up Sean's room, and he decides that that's a good night's work and leaves. We see more Jacko stalking a cable guy. Not any cable guy, but a midnight cable guy. The rarest of breeds.
The girl's name is Sarah.
The trick-or-treaters walk. Julie walks in the woods till Jim scares the two trick-or-treaters. Back at the house, Dad gets a phone call saying some kids said dead bodies and monsters around, so they should keep everybody inside. In the woods, Jim is in the woods checking his bike, and he hears something and goes, investigates, only to meet Jacko. And we get a kill number 6 for our 5, the headless motorcyclist. Jim gets his head chopped off, and his body is shocked.
Jim is a rolling stone.
I just love the scene because he gets his head cut off, and then his arms come up to like his neck. Is like, what happened?
Sounds like Scooby-Doo.
Oh, Raggy! And then, let's see. Julie runs to the cable guy, and we get kill number 7, only to be killed by nothing there. And I give that a 1 out of 5. Dad comes across the guy from the beginning and asks if he's seen Sean. And he only laughs and says, he's in my basement!
He's Uncle somebody. I didn't catch the name. I put Uncle whoever.
Uncle CPS.
Uncle whoever.
And told him finding candy. Mom's back at the house, finds the damaged room, and Mom freaks out about not knowing where Dad was, and Sean and Carolyn walk home and take a shortcut through a park to find Jacko is waiting. Carolyn gets knocked out. Sean runs to the Watsons, find Miss Watson and old Toasty. Then Jacko
is at the door blocking the exit.
Vivian comes clean about using Sean as a decoy to kill the monster, which can only be destroyed by the 5th male descendant after Arthur Kelly, which is, dun dun dun, Sean.
I thought you were going to say that less enthusiastically.
Dun dun dun, Sean. And Vivian knew the demon would rise again, and it would has to kill Sean before Sean kills it. Next, Sean runs, trips, falls over, nothing, but Jacko is crap at killing him. Sean comes home and wants to come in, only for the door to be sticky once again. Then sees a hand and red liquid. After they open the door, Sean's gone, but kill number 7, 5 out of 5, a poor and innocent juice box to the fridge in the sky. Vivian takes them to...
Went to the overfilled garbage can of wasted food in the cafeteria in the sky.
Vivian takes them to the old Kelly farm. As they roll up, they find Jim's bike and head. Then Vivian opens the locket, then says, poor Mr. Jack, you can't be saved. It's like you were in a shallow grave. Then all of a sudden she knows where they are and goes driving to a field. Vivian pulls out some ash sticks, which she makes into a cross. This is a big trunk for this car. She's got a full-size shovel in there, some large ash sticks. Jacko motions for Sean to enter the shallow grave.
This is hilarious.
Okay, yeah.
So the Pumpkin Man pushes Sean into his grave and starts pushing dirt on him.
Please,
and
stop.
Sean is like, no, please, no. And he's just slowly just shoveling dirt over top of him.
Could you please stop?
Sean's like, no, stop.
Hey, Jacko.
No.
Jacko, could you stop? This is really getting annoying. I have allergies, you know. Do you have an inhaler? I don't like the smell of this dirt. Please stop. Pretty please.
He keeps doing that, and he's covered up with dirt and his arms are just sticking out. And he's still like,
Can I get you some candy corn? do you like tuna casserole? I got tuna casserole.
Vivian walks up and says, "You know me, don't you?"
Oh, why, yes. Yes, I do.
Do you work on the corner of 11th and Vine? You're not wearing what you normally do. That perfume, though, that smells familiar.
Because my vine's all sorts of stuck up.
I'm the last of the ones that brought you into this world. Now, go back to hell! Only if you'll come with me.
$5.
And she opens her locket. The Kellys call out to ask where did she go. She turns to face them to say, "Over here!" And Jacko,
oh, what?
well, he gives her a little attention. So number 7 is Vivian.
He plunges the scythe into her stomach. 2 out of 5.
He lifts her up off the ground.
Okay, 3.
He cores her with it.
3 out of 5. Well, he just quartered her the other night.
Didn't even have to pay $5 on that. She was cheap.
Yeah.
So he made another hole and it's already pre-lubed.
Yeah. And here come Dad and Mom, who don't save the day. As Sean has visions on how to kill Jacko and gets out of the grave because he finally had enough. I'm done with this, Mr. Pumpkin. I'm getting out. Sean becomes heroic in a lame way and tells the Pumpkin Man to come get him as Zed tackles him and Sean accidentally plunges the ash cross into Mr. Jacko.
Oh, Jacko came after him and he just
Yeah,
happened to have the cross leaned to where he would impale himself.
Yeah. Kill.
Whoops, I didn't mean to do that just yet, but you're dead now.
Are you okay, Jacko? Oh, I'll get a band-aid and some Neosporin.
Oh, get the tuna casserole.
You owe me a juice box. Kill number 9, Jacko.
No, 8.
8. Then turns into a liquid and bursts into flames. Then a rooster crows. Dad says it's almost dawn. Let's go home. But Sean has something to do first. He needs to take a leak. No, he goes and sees Arthur Kelly's grave and sets the scythe on the grave. We also find out Julie survived.
Then he goes and pees on the head of Jim.
Yeah. We find out that Julie somehow survived and finds a live Carolyn. And they agree to go find Sean, and which they do as the family strolls leisurely down the road for a happy reunion. He asks if he has to go trick-or-treating next year, which the answer is yes. No, is actually, if you don't want to, then they all go get breakfast, and then one of them comments, as long as it's anything but pumpkin pie.
Oh, Carolyn wants a big slice of pie with ice cream.
No,
So Sean asked what kind of pie.
Anything
She says
but,
anything but pumpkin. This movie made me want pumpkin pie.
Yeah. I'll be like, eat it, Mr. Jacko. Eat it. I'm eating you.
Makes me want pumpkin pie.
Then we see a jack-o'-lantern that looks like Jacko's face light up. Is this a cliffhanger? Will there be a sequel? And the answer is no. Thank God.
Nope, they can only make off one time with this one.
And thank God there was no sequel to this film. Alright. You want to go?
I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and that was really being generous. Simply because the basic idea of the film was okay. But the real meat and potatoes of the movie, there wasn't really much there. The film was basically made of a bunch of filler clips. It was just fillers.
Yeah, it was just nonsense.
It's not easy to watch. But honestly, we've done worse. It feels like they probably could have made this film in 30 to 45 minutes.
I would say 15 to 20, but yeah, that's just me.
You know, really could have gotten all the basic information in 30 to 45 minutes without all the filler crap. It really got the point across.
You know, we probably could have cut out 10 minutes of washing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I sexy yet? No.
Please stop. Awkwardly washing with like one of those motel soaps.
Yeah, it took us like twice to realize that she was washing with like a really small... I thought she was just rubbing her hand over her body.
I was like, is that one of those little motel soaps? Was this like a bet or something that somebody had with her?
Yeah, right. Well, we need nudity in this film. How can we fill it in? She takes a shower for 10 minutes. Okay.
It's like they just videotaped random crap. Oh, well, we gotta pay for this motel room. We might as well make it worth it. Okay. Who wants to get naked? Well, you look halfway decent. We'll film you. No, Dean, we're not going to film you. Nobody wants to watch that. Well, nobody wanted to watch her either.
Jim, put your clothes back on.
Nobody wants to see that. Yeah. It's like, I feel like I'm looking into a room that I should not be in.
No, Uncle CPS, put your clothes back on.
I'm not going to sleep.
Well, you were very generous because you don't want to know what my score is.
What is it?
1.5.
Oh my god.
It's still, this movie's still higher than like Darkness Unleashed, but still.
And you like bad horror films.
Oh man, Darkness Unleashed was a nightmare to get through, and this one was a nightmare to get through, especially on the second one. You're just like, there's nothing in this film. So, honestly, this film is hard to watch. It seems longer than what it really is. Not a lot of action. The story is disjointed. Characters are added for no reason. Mostly the Watson family, and the overly political messaging was just useless because I did spend a lot of time on that. A lot longer than what it should have. Like, you know, it's like this very conservative, what people would consider very conservative, you know, saying, just like a Rush Limbaugh type person.
Who was?
But the Watsons were watching while they were eating.
It only showed like 2 or 3 clips of the Watsons.
It did, but I mean, like they spent a lot of time on it. That's what I'm trying. It seemed like it just seemed a lot longer than what it was. You know, like they had this like overly like this like extreme conservative type, you know, like Rush Limbaugh type, just spewing out stuff. You know, and it's like, okay, I don't understand what this has to do with anything in this film. It just makes it feel like a different film. You know, it like you said, it's a filler clip.
Mm-hmm.
We could got that they were political. It didn't have to just show this like part of the show, in my opinion. You could have just heard it as they were complaining. He could have simply complained that he was like kids, you know, they don't buy my candy from my store and we're having issues at the store or whatever, you know, instead of whatever it was.
They could have not had any of that. They could have just been grumpy people that didn't like kids and didn't want them on their damn lawn. I mean, it could have been that simple.
Yeah.
They could have just been sitting there watching any kind of monotonous It could have been
Or
watching
just-
a gardening channel, or
Actually, I think it would have been hilarious if it was watching something on pumpkins. Like a gardening channel on pumpkins.
you know,
And like
it
they're
could have
like
been
half
watching
asleep.
any kind of monotony, eating their crappy TV dinner, which is very common then.
Yeah.
You know,
I just no.
griping about everything.
I didn't understand why there was like the political stuff in the center. To me, it was just like, what does this have to do with any of this? Again, it was that disjointed, like multiple different ideas in it.
Well, there were two different directors, so.
And then I was just also pointing out that politics and horror is very hard to do, match together. The only good thing about the Watson is honestly her death, which is just, to me, that was the creme de la creme of this entire film, when she just gets electrocuted. That was hilarious. And to think that you're going to do anything with a butter knife other than not even cut toast with it. I mean, she can't even cut toast with a butter knife. And who cuts toast into strips when you're not like 3? Like, and he's like, he goes out and he goes out to investigate what the noise was. She's like, oh, I'm gonna make more toast. Okay, so they live off toast and TV dinners. What a life. The one sort of like, there's like 2 unnerving aspects I found in this entire movie. Is one is the how much they trusted Vivian from the beginning. And how close she became so soon. Like, they didn't even bat an eye. It was like, oh, so you helped our son, and we don't know you, but hey, just be an integral part of our family.
Come on in, help yourself.
And then, honestly, Uncle CPS. Like, what was that whole, like, beginning scene about? And, like, where even were they? I guess we there in the backyard, but it felt like they're on a camping trip, and I don't know. So this is what I thought would have made this movie better. The better choice would have been adding Robbie and the unnamed the unnamed female friend at the Sarah at the beginning, and Sarah at the beginning, to make it feel like there were a couple of kids camping out. And then that would have caused Robbie to say that rhyme. It would make more sense for Robbie to be there to say that rhyme the next day. Because again, that felt just disjointed. Like, where did he hear that rhyme? Is this a common thing in this town? What the heck is going on?
Well, it's a folklore there.
Yeah. And Sean at best, so some other criticisms was Sean at best was unemotional, especially during the Buried Alive season. Scene and Buried Alive scene. Please stop. Other aspects.
Jacko, you're a bully.
Other aspects I wonder is, does the locket serve as a link to Walter? Because we hear at one time the voice of Walter, and then we never hear it again. But she keeps pulling out the locket like they're communicating. So that's disjointed. Like, what's the purpose of this locket? And then, again, going back to that, is like, is there a link to Walter, and that's how Vivian knows what to do? And does Jacko have a physical link with Sean to cause him to just be buried alive? Walter could have been explained better, but the actor John Carradine died during the filming, and they spliced together what they had. Still, the Vivian character could have cleared up more than just retelling the story, and they could have left the flashback out of it, since it just felt as filler, sort of like the shower scene, but at least we got our obligated nudity scene out of the way. So yeah. So other than John Carradine's death, I do want, like, it just falls flat. I mean, this movie is just, but if it has a nostalgia feeling, it makes it feel like you're watching a VHS film.
For sure.
And I think I looked it up, and I think like a physical copy of this movie is like $50 on like DVD.
The only way I would want to own it is just so I would have a copy of it, not to actually watch it.
But why would we have a copy of it if we don't watch it?
Yeah.
Just when a movie gets like, oh, I think we're getting into too many. We're watching too many good films lately, so we really need to watch Jacko. We need to watch Jacko, just to get, bring ourselves back down from the euphoria of a decent, cohesive film. If we're watching a marathon of decent films.
We did that?
We watch a few here and there. Then we watch other movies.
But so many in a row where we go, you know what? We need to watch Jacko. We're just being too good to ourselves. We're watching too many good movies in a row.
I think Jacko will turn out to be like the idea of having a Jack Black marathon. Then you realize that you can only take so much Jack Black.
If I felt like I was being too good to myself and I needed to watch a really crappy movie, then I would just be like, hey, you know what? We need to go watch The Room.
Oh, yeah.
Jacko was like the horror version of The Room.
But there was no... At least with The Room, there is some delight to it. You're tying me apart, Lisa! I didn't hit her! Oh, hi, Mark.
At least with Jacko, when I'm done watching it, my belly button doesn't feel sore. But I have this weird craving for pumpkin. Lona says we're done. Are we done? Lona.
Alright, we're done with Jacko.
No.
Close it up.
Well, we'll scare you later.
Bye. You're tearing me apart, Jacko. You're tearing me apart.